What's up, guys? Lore here with another Heart of the Swarm beta match. More exciting action. Let's just ignore that for a second, guys. Down here in the southeast corner, we have the red Protoss, Martacus. And he already spoiled it for me. But up here in the northwest corner, as the blue Protoss, leZSaysGG. Yeah, you guys remember him from last week sometime. We had, I believe it was a Protoss versus Terran that he played. And he eventually won, but he was super passive the entire time. So we'll have to see if he's any more aggressive in his Protoss versus Protoss. I haven't cast a Protoss versus Protoss in a while, so this could be interesting to see how this ends up panning out. Looks like Lazy is going to be the first one to scout, and he's going to head off in the wrong direction. We do have cross positions here on Star Station, so we'll have to see what these guys have in store. Really interesting. Like I said, I haven't really cast a Protoss versus Protoss in a while. I'm actually not 100% certain what's happening with Protoss versus Protoss these days. There's been a whole lot of changes to Protoss just in general. Uh-oh. Getting some lag here from Mr. Martacus, apparently. By the way, Martacus is also an awesome name. I feel like all of his probes are Martacus. I am Martacus. No, I am Martacus. Bleep bloop, I am Martacus. Anyway. But yeah, I haven't cast a Protoss vs. Protoss in a while. We've seen lots of changes to Sky Protoss especially. By the way, both players going for that 13, looks like, gateway. But there's been a lot of changes to Sky Protoss in particular. So we'll have to see what ends up going on here. Lazy takes his first gas, and Martacus takes his first gas as well. So I'm just going to ignore what they're talking about, by the way. So yeah, very similar openings. So... how are you guys? Internet? How's it going? You watching StarCraft? I should mention, by the way, I should bring this up, that the Heart of the Swarm release date has been announced. It's been known for about a week now, that the Heart of the Swarm release date has been announced. It's March 13th, 2013. Now, my beta key giveaway is over now. All the winners have been notified. But you can still get a hold of a Heart of the Swarm beta key by pre-ordering through various different retailers. In fact, I believe, and I actually didn't think to double check this before I started this cast, but I am pretty sure if you pre-order through, and this is second gas now up for Lazy up over here. No second gas yet for Martacus, so we are starting to see their bills differ a little bit. But anyway, I do believe that if you pre-order through Team Liquid, not only does that help Team Liquid out, which is awesome. Team Liquid is definitely a site that is worthy of supporting, but it also will give you a beta key to Heart of the Swarm. So if you can't wait for this, you just have not been able to get a beta key just yet, and it's something that you're saying, you know what, I'm gonna buy it. I mean, it's freaking Heart of the Swarm. You're gonna buy it anyway. Let's be honest. Everybody's going to buy Heart of the Swarm, and I don't want to believe that anybody who says that they're not going to. Everyone will purchase this. The entire world. Everyone. But yeah, you can go ahead and pick it up. Get that pre-order in at Team Liquid. And I believe, I am pretty sure, that actually does net you a beta key as well. Double check first, and I'll be sure to double check as well after I'm done with this cast. But I am pretty sure that does actually get you a beta key. So we do have the Mothership Core on the way from leZSaysGG. We have no Mothership Core yet coming out of Martacus. In fact, he's actually queuing up another probe, so it looks like we might not see that for a little while still. He did take a much later gas, so he's going to be, let's see, how much is that? 100 gas now that actually costs, so he's not going to be able to get that out quite as quickly. A little bit of aggression going on up over here, but with this Mothership Core out, that will be chased away, undoubtedly, as Lazy actually gets his expansion up. It looks like Martacus is going to go for that too, as he just now is hitting the 400 resources mark. Should be able to drop that down, and didn't. In fact, he decided instead he was going to... Oh, that's actually... I actually thought that was Martacus's probe over there, but it was not. He is going to drop down that expansion, though, and the sentry's going to shine some flashlight beams at that probe. Make sure he doesn't get up in here to see... the Mothership Core is now finished for Martacus, but other than that, it's just a standard 2-gate. In fact, I say standard 2-gate, but we actually haven't seen 2-gate anything out of Protoss in a long time. It's usually been like 1 or 3. You either go 1 gate if you want to get this super fast expansion up, which is what Lazy did, or you go 3 gate if you want to do some early pressure. And we see now that Lazy is actually going up to 3 gateways and adding on a robotics facility. So not a Sky Terran, or excuse me, Sky Protoss play. So used to saying Sky Terran. Not Sky Protoss play out of him, which, if I remember correctly, was actually what he did in the game that I cast of him before. He actually went for a robotics facility early on, and then later on he switched over to like about 8 million Tempests. So we'll have to see what he's got planned for this match, what his Protoss versus Protoss looks like. Both players are still very, very even. We do have this fast observer coming out for laZe. Both players are still very even in terms of units. I actually want to check and see. Yeah, they're dead even in probes as well. laZe just slightly ahead in terms of production, but both players are staying on top of that probe production quite well. So very, very cool to see. These couple of stalkers are still just sort of hanging out over here. If laZe decides to move out and poke around a little bit, which I'm kind of surprised he hasn't yet, just decided to poke around a little bit at all, that will not go well for those stalkers. They're going to run away from there immediately, actually taking a couple of extra hits there. And laZe just sort of pulling his observer back, says, you know what, I want to be sure nothing shady's going on over here. You're going to poke around with that observer a little bit. Not a terrible idea, honestly. A lot of times what you'll see happen is they'll actually just chrono boost out 2 observers right away, but that's sort of fallen by the wayside a bit in terms of strategy in recent months. Going up to, looks like 5 gateways now for Martacus over here, and he also does have his robotics bay up and running, the 2 observers. Oh, excuse me, that's actually a stalker. This observer will spot that. Is there no observer out for Martacus? No, there is not. So that's interesting, choosing to forego that observer entirely to get this Immortal out much faster. Very interesting choice as he gets up to his 5th gateway here. So both players are playing extremely passive. I suppose that shouldn't be terribly surprising. That's what we saw out of laZe before, was this extremely passive play. Just sort of sits back and apparently stares at him building a simulator. But there they go. They're going to start. Did he actually just rally all of those guys over there before it was even finished? That's interesting. But yeah, just sort of sitting back and macroing up. I'm wondering, excuse me, I'm wondering if we're going to see another expansion out of laZe here relatively soon. He is now, oh excuse me, never mind. He's going up to double Stargate and getting out a bunch of Phoenixes. Managed to miss that entirely, but double Stargate and a whole bunch of Phoenixes, so we shouldn't see a new expansion out of him soon. Which is interesting with how passive he's been. Normally if you're going to be this passive, you're going to want to go for that 3rd expansion relatively quickly. But that's not what we're seeing here. He's going to start chrono boosting out a whole bunch of Phoenixes to come over here and pick him up some probes. Kill them guys out. Twilight Council, though, coming for Martacus, as well as a Warp Prism. So we could be seeing some Blink play. We could be seeing... he could be heading up to Dark Templar. Could also be the option there. Try to warp some Dark Templar in the back. Honestly, not sure. We'll have to see what he's actually... I'm going to say we'll have to see a few more times. I think we'll have to see how many times I say we'll have to see in this particular cast. All right. Well... So, how are you guys? It's cold outside today. Oh, we do have an observer over here now for Martacus. Looking at them Phoenixes. Those Phoenixes don't seem to know that's there, but they're going to start heading off here anyway. Cold weather day here in Battle Creek, Michigan. Oh, is he going to spot this? No. This Warp Prism over here, it has 2 Zealots and 2 Sentries in it. Wow, my screen is actually jerking around a little bit there. Has 2 Sentries and 2 Zealots, which means this could actually be a really scary push against... he can actually lock in these probes and do a whole bunch of damage with that if he so chooses. And these Phoenixes are nowhere nearby. So he may be able to do a good bit of damage with that as these Phoenixes sort of continue to... In fact, he's actually sending these other couple Phoenixes away now. We'll have a couple of them pop out right around the time that this guy shows... Wow, is that actually... Is it just this thing is sometimes not loading when I look at it? We'll find out in a second. But now these Phoenixes coming in for laZe. Now there are a whole bunch of stalkers there, but they're not going to be able to do much before. He's going to micro that one away. Yes, he does manage to save that one low Phoenix and get away out of there. So very nice. A little bit of damage there done for. Oops, excuse me. A little bit of damage there done. 7 workers killed for laZe in that little push there. So very nice. Very nice. Didn't lose a single Phoenix in the process. He's actually now got a ton of Phoenixes up. That's 14 Phoenixes. No, excuse me. 10 Phoenixes. Math. Whatever. That is a lot of stalkers there, though, for Martacus. And he almost has Blink completed. It's not quite done yet, so laZe's going to be able to do a bunch of damage here. Might lose a couple of Phoenixes. He's going to swing around over here. That Blink is still not done. It's still got another, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds on it at this point. So laZe could get it. He has an opportunity right now to get in here and do some more damage. He's going to come in here, lift up a couple more probes? No, he's just going to go ahead and back off. And with that blink finished, that stalker play will probably be shut down pretty well. In fact, look at this. Beautiful splitting of his army here by Martacus. Has a bunch of these guys sitting down over here, and a bunch more of them up over here. You see so many Protoss players, especially, when they get harassed like that. They just get in the death ball mindset. This Warp Prism is still just sitting over here, by the way. They get in that death ball mindset. Uh-oh, this could be unfortunate. He does pull away. He actually could have lifted a couple of those sentries and gotten some easy kills on them. Ooh, and Martacus actually shows the blink. That's a bit of an interesting move. Decides to show that he has that blink and almost loses a stalker for it. But, oh, that Phoenix. That one right there. 2 hit points. That man is clenching his buttocks quite well right now. But anyway, leZ coming in here with an attack to push back a little bit. Does manage to blink over the force fields. But the Zealots, the Zealots are getting stuck behind the force field. I honestly can't tell exactly who's winning or losing this fight. There's so much everything going on. Hallucinating some Colossi in the middle of that. I don't think that's going to trick anybody. But it may absorb some of the fire. The Phoenixes are still doing as much as they can, lifting as much as they can in the process. And it looks like leZ is going to be able to start pushing this back. The Stalkers are going to try to micro as much as they can, but the Phoenixes are actually still alive. Somehow or another, all of these Phoenixes, that's still 9 Phoenixes still alive in the midst of that. So these Stalkers are going to have to run away, and this is all that's left of Martacus' army that he pushed up there with. Now, obviously, he still has a whole bunch of Stalkers going to come in here and reinforce this. And with that blink play, he will be able to do some poking at him. But that was otherwise nicely handled by leZ. I actually do really like that he morphed in, or excuse me, hallucinated in the Colossi in the middle of that. It's obviously not going to trick him, right? Like, he saw them get morphed in, but they would absorb some damage if Martacus was not microing perfectly. So that was an interesting little tactic. leZ's going to spot this expansion now up for Martacus over here. Might poke at it a little bit, but ooh, takes a bunch of damage. Does wisely cancel that. And nice, actually gets a feedback off from a High Templar that I didn't even see in there. Oh, they're there. A couple High Templars right there. But he does manage to cancel that that gravitonic lift, excuse me, graviton beam, there we go, and get out of there without taking too much damage. This Warp Prism is the luckiest Warp Prism that's ever existed. Look at that. I don't know why he's still just sitting there. He has not done anything with this Warp Prism with 2 Zealots and 2 sentries in it this entire time. By the way, we do have a third base up for leZ over here as well, and he's adding on more gateways also. And that's actually a little bit better saturated than Martacus' third over here. So leZ definitely seems to be taking the advantage in this game. He also has the supply advantage as well by about 20 supply. I'm actually curious. I'm going to check the income here for a moment. They're actually relatively even right now. Things are not too strong one way or the other. So I wonder if maybe some of these other ones, yeah, this is not as well saturated as it could be. That is not nearly as well saturated as it could be. I mean, yeah, obviously there's not a ton of minerals left, but there's enough that it's still worthwhile to have some of your probes over there. So it looks like he just sent, wow, and this one's oversaturated actually. He needs to put some of those probes into his gas here. So a little bit of probe mishandling, but not the biggest of deals, as they are still relatively. That is a lot of stalkers. Holy crap, that is a lot of stalkers. Does he have anything that is not a stalker? Martacus has that. He has this guy over here and 25 stalkers. That's basically it. He does have a few extra High Templar and a few, a few extra Zealots sitting around too, but that's about it. And this is a lot of stalkers and 1 High Templar. This guy's like, hey guys, can I be a stalker too? Cold as the void and stuff. I go unseen or whatever it is. Alright. I love the heart, by the way. I keep pointing that out every time I see it. The unbuildable plates, they actually have a heart icon if you accidentally select it in a group. I think only observers will ever see that, but it's still kind of funny. So Martacus starting to poke around up over here, but does leave his base open. leZ could actually actually has a huge opportunity to do some damage right now, but oh, big blink down in here, blinks all of them. leZ does cancel that that expansion immediately, but he's going to lose a few pylons in the process. Doesn't supply block him at all. And meanwhile, in comes this big old army over here. A bunch of feedbacks going down. I'm not actually sure exactly what they hit. Big blink in there. Looks like he's trying to kill down... Oh, those are hallucinated. He blinks in to kill down the hallucinated Colossi right on top of these Immortals that are just doing work right now. Just tearing these guys apart. Nice lift on that Phoenix. Stopping these couple of guys from... Well, it should have stopped these couple of guys from getting away. Unfortunately, The rest of the army is not going over there to do any damage. But now the Tempests are out. We saw leZ do this weird late game shift in his previous game. I don't remember the name of the person he was playing against, but he did this weird late game shift into just a million Tempests. And it looks like he maybe... No, he's actually going back to Phoenixes now and adding on a bunch more gateways. So we're not going to see mass Tempests this time. It looks like that dropship, or excuse me, that warp prism that was sitting over here, finally just decided to try and come up in here and do some damage, but it got shut down pretty hard. Actually, it may not have. What happened to all of his probes? Did it kill off all of his probes in the middle of that? Hold on a second. Let's check. Yeah, well, the 21 workers killed for Martacus now, so he must have done a pretty decent amount of damage. Apologies for missing that in the middle of that other fight that was going on. But yeah, so interesting at the very least. Does still put leZ at a very clear advantage, I think. And in fact, he's going to come over here and say, you kill my probes, I kill your probes. And just casually just go ahead and, yeah, whatever. Just stopping by. Just thought I'd come through the drive-through probe king. Burger probe Donald's. I don't know, whatever. Fast food joint. I can't make that joke right now. My head's just not letting it happen. Sorry guys. I feel as though I have failed you with my jokes on this particular day. Anyway, expansion coming up, fourth expansion coming up once again over here for leZ. There is a fourth now up for Martacus in addition to this one over here, but he really just doesn't have any mining going on. Look at this. It says 9 workers. They must be coming. Yeah, they're coming down from over there. This place is mined out at this point. This place is mined out at this point. And actually, I just noticed something. I just noticed that it'll actually show you. Well, it was showing me. That's. Now it's not. For a second, I'm wondering actually what happened that made that hide. Anyway, Phoenix is over here killing off a whole bunch of... Yeah, look at that. Now I can see the worker count, but that must be a glitch or something, because on this one I cannot see the worker count. Not sure what that's all about, but it was, anyway, showing the number of workers that was actually usable. Like, see, this one here, it shows 15 of 15, meaning you can only actually use 15 workers on this one. Otherwise, there will be too many. So that's interesting that it actually shows that off. But this is a lot of zealots, actually. That is a ton of zealots. leZ is now maxed out to Martacus's 123, and now we're seeing a bit of the same leZSaysGG that we saw from the previous match of his that I cast. I should remind everyone, by the way, that this is a random replay from drop.sc. But takes a bit of a poke there from that Archon. Just whatever, whatever, Mr. Archon. Don't care. Now he can't actually lift the Archon, so and that's a bunch of extra damage taken there. But yeah, we saw leZ just get super passive for no real reason. He sits on this maxed out army and just doesn't ever want to attack. So maybe he's actually moving out here. He might actually be moving in for an attack with this whole big... He does have charge research too, so he may be moving in for an attack with this. In fact, it looks like he's going to come down here and attack this expansion. Meanwhile, Martacus is moving out with a much smaller force that will most certainly die quite dramatically to leZ's force over here if he were to attack that. So looks like leZ just sort of poking around a little bit, wants to see what's going on. Gonna kill off a few more probes, because why not? Whatever, 3 probes. Nom nom. Delicious snack. And now here comes that massive zealot army charging in here. The zealots are on all sides. He does have high Templars in the back, throwing down some psionic storms as well. In fact, okay, yeah, they were actually leZ's. I thought perhaps Martacus was psionic storming his own army there for a second, but it doesn't look like it would matter anyway. He's just getting torn to shreds here. However, there's a bunch of leZ's army in the back now, not really helping out in the fight, which is actually causing this to be a lot more even than it should have been. leZ, however, does come out in the very clear victory after that, as he finishes off this expansion and just decides to back off. He's going to come over here and pick up some probes, start picking the rest of Martacus's economy apart. And at this point, he should know, like really, leZ, at this point, you should know that you have this kill. It looks like he might be poking around a little bit more just to check to see if there's any other expansions. There aren't. There is nothing else around on this map, sir. You need to box this. Yeah, box the Templar too. It doesn't even matter. Box that whole thing and attack move down over here. Press A, click right around this section of his base, and that will end this game quite rapidly. Even if you don't even cast any of the ooh, this warp prism's still poking around a little bit up over here. I wonder if that's the same warp prism from before. Looks like he might try to warp something in over here. Meanwhile, Martacus's economy is just in tatters at this point. He's got a few probes, 19 probes left up over there, and that's pretty much it. Like, check his unit count. He's just warping in a few zealots over here. Might try and do some damage to leZ's economy here, but leZ's army is like right next to that, so that will not do too much damage. He's gonna kill 1 probe, 2 probe, 3 probe. Might get a 4th. Does get a 4th probe, and that's the end of those zealots. Farewell. Oh, this is Martacus is actually pushing out. He's at 82 supply, but he's pushing out. That was okay. Not sure what that was all about, but he looks like he's gonna come up over here. And wow, leZ's actually building photon cannons. I don't really know why he feels like he needs those at this point. Psionic Storm's actually going down on top of his own army. Those are very misplaced. Psionic Storm doing more damage to leZ's army than Martacus is with that. But he is going to continue to charge up in here. Martacus will give the GG. Yeah, he knows that's the end of that. As soon as he lost that army, he was screwed. So he decides, you know what, I'm not just going to sit around and wait for leZ to finally push and win. I'm just going to go ahead and end it myself and call the GG. So, well played to both players. I feel like Martacus made a couple of tactical errors earlier on and should have just had a little bit stronger production. Honestly, just having more stuff would have really helped him a lot. Plus, you know, maybe some better early defenses against those early Phoenixes. leZ's early Phoenixes really helped him a ton in that match. Just sort of, in fact, I actually want to check and see. Yeah, a total of 84 workers killed over the course of that match by leZ's Phoenixes in a 30-minute match. So, pretty devastating. That's a lot of dead probes. That's a lot. I'm very sad for the number of dead probes in that match. But GG's to both players. My name is Lore, and I will see you in the next match.